Hello everyone and welcome back to Adventures in Coriolis. Today the adventure brings us to Washington DC and the National Mall. We're going to check out some of the monuments and things you must see when you visit here. So come on, let's get this adventure started. The cool thing about the National Mall is there's so many historical sites to see right here. From one end you have the U.S. Capitol building, and then on the other end you have the Lincoln Memorial. It's a couple miles in between, and the entire length of the mall is just, on both sides you have the Smithsonians. You also have a lot of memorials and monuments in between to see. So there's just a plethora of things to see and do here. And most of the things here are absolutely free, so you're not going to have to pay money. You can pretty much make up a couple or a few days of your visit to Washington, D.C. right here on the National Mall. So definitely a highlight. So we'll start our look at the National Mall here on the eastern side of the mall and the U.S. Capitol building, which is behind me. Now, we won't go into a deep dive about the U.S. Capitol building. We'll save that for some other time here on the channel. But it is a cool spot to visit. If you don't have time to book a tour, which you can do through your representatives, then you can just come here and take pictures from the outside. You can actually walk up to it and walk out behind it. Behind it is where you're going to find the Library of Congress, the Supreme Court, so you can walk behind it and see things. But if you just want to walk right up to it, you can get pretty close up to the Capitol to take your pictures. And this is a good starting point for your tour of the National Mall. So come on and let's see what else we're going to find out here. If you are short on time in DC and want to take in a lot of the mall at once, I do encourage you to look into the Capitol Bike Share. You'll see these locations all over Washington, DC, and the bikes are available to rent. You can use an app on your cell phone, but if you see one of the kiosks with all the bikes around it, just go up to it and it'll tell you how to use it. This is not sponsored in any way. I just think it's very cool, and this is something I utilize myself when I'm out on the mall because, as I said, it is pretty big and a lot of places to get to. So this is one way you can get in between all the places you want to see pretty quickly without having to walk or depend on another type of ride share. So I encourage you to check that out. In addition to all the monuments and museums and all the history that you can see around here, this is also a park. So, feel free to bring a picnic, to, bring lawn chairs. You see people out here playing frisbee and baseball and just a myriad of sports. So you can treat it as such if you just want to come for the day and just sit among the monuments and the museums and just take in the sights and sounds of Washington, D.C. There's always a lot of people out here with their pets, with their kids. So yeah, feel free to do all that. It's a cool place to do that. There are shaded areas in addition to the more open area, which is out on the center of the mall. So a lot of areas for you to just sit and relax in between visits to museums, perhaps, or monuments, if you just want to take a seat in the shade and sit down. There are also vendors out here that do have snacks, and there's a bunch of food trucks, always a ton of food trucks. So there's many options for you to pick for lunch or dinner or just a snack, whatever time of day you might happen to be out here. But yeah, so definitely plan to relax among the quiet shade of the National Mall when you visit. Now, as I mentioned, the Smithsonian museums do flank both sides, both the north and south side of the National Mall. Over here behind me is the National Air and Space Museum. I actually did a video on that earlier this year, so look through my videos and find that, just a review of what you can see in there. behind me here is the Smithsonian Castle. This is where you're going to find just general information about the Smithsonian. That's a good starting point to just learn a general overview of all the Smithsonians and what they offer. So definitely check that out. And once you're here on the mall, you're within walking distance of all of the Smithsonian museums. Just off of the National Mall, just behind, just on the north end on Constitution Avenue, is the National Archives, and that's where you're going to find the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the original documents. So check that out while you're here as well. However, that's not right on the mall. You are going to have to walk a couple of blocks north to get to that, but it's not far from the mall. But yeah, definitely when you're on the National Mall, in addition to the Washington Monument, the U.S. Capitol, the Lincoln Memorial, and all the other cool sites, make sure you also take time to do the Smithsonian's, because it's free history. Who doesn't love that? So now we've made it from the Capitol building on the eastern side of the mall. Now we're at around the center point of the National Mall, and the centerpiece, I'm just at the foot of the Washington Monument. And if you see behind me here, if you come to just the base of the Washington Monument, just a little bit further west, right behind it on the west side, you can see the White House down there. Have a pretty good view of the White House, so if you want to come get pictures, this is actually probably one of the better vantage points that you're going to get of the White House, at least from the back side of the White House, because they have put up big walls all around the White House now, so you can't really get up there and get good pictures if you're up a couple streets closer. So this is a good place to get pictures, especially if you want to get selfies or anything with the White House. This is the place to do it here on the National Mall. Behind me here is the centerpiece of the National Mall, and probably the centerpiece of Washington, D.C. It's definitely one of the most distinguishable structures in the entire world, the Washington Monument. So come check that out. It's cool to stand at the base and see how tall it actually really is. And you can actually go up inside it. If you get tickets, you want to go to recreation.gov to get tickets. You have to get tickets ahead of time. There are some same day tickets you can walk up in the mornings and get. Check out my video I did back earlier this year. I actually went up inside it and took some footage from the top. So check that out. I'll include a link down below for that, and you can see if that might be something you want to do while you're here on the National Mall. But definitely check out the Washington Monument up close, because it's so cool. And this is one of my favorite places on the mall, one of my favorite places in the entire city of Washington, D.C., because it's so cool to be under the Washington Monument. So we've now made our way down the National Mall, again headed west, and we've arrived at the World War II Memorial. I'll pan around here and show you. Right here behind me is the World War II Memorial. It is getting a little bit closer now to the Lincoln Memorial, and it's right at the very end of the reflecting pool that then leads to the Lincoln Memorial. just a little bit ways down from the Washington Monument. So see, as I told you, it's just monument after museum after landmark after monument here on the National Mall. So there's so many things to see. It is a pretty cool place to come and reflect and to think about those who have served and sacrificed their lives for our country. So let's continue to head further west and arrive at the Lincoln Memorial. And now we've made it to our final stop here on the National Mall, the Lincoln Memorial, which is just behind me. This is the westernmost point of the National Mall. It is where the National Mall actually ends. You can go up on the memorial and walk around it, and you can take pictures off the back. We have a great view of the Potomac River in Arlington, Virginia, just across the river. So I encourage that. You can also, of course, see great views of Abraham Lincoln, and also great views when you walk up there of the entire National Mall. So we're going to go up and get a few shots of the mall from that vantage point, because you can see all the way down the mall to the Capitol building, and that's a great vantage point. Also off just to the side of us where we are now, up to the north, you are going to have the Vietnam Memorial, the Vietnam Wall with all the names inscribed of it. That's just north of here. And then just south of here is the Korean War Memorial. So check both of those out. Also, from the Lincoln Memorial, you can also continue to walk down and around the tidal basin and see some of the monuments and memorials that are over there. So now we've made it to our final stop on the National Mall and the Lincoln Memorial. We're going to walk up all these steps to the top. It's a lot of steps, especially after you've been walking across the mall or just from anywhere. Didn't have to ascend all these steps, but I'll show you something pretty cool that you can stop and check out on your way up the steps. About halfway up, when it changes from the brown steps to the more marble steps, if you look toward the middle, as you see, there's the bottom portion I was just coming up, and here's the more white marbled stairs. If you look here in the middle, you'll actually see the place where Martin Luther King Jr. stood and delivered his "I Have a Dream" speech. That was in August of 1963, and this is the view he would have had as he stood here and gave his address, looking out over the National Mall. Also, a very iconic movie used this as a filming location in the 1994 film Forrest Gump. If you remember, he's standing here when he sees, actually, you see him running through the reflecting pool down there. The reflecting pool, interesting thing about that, it looks very large and looks like it would be deep. It's not very deep at all, but you can actually walk right along those paths along both sides of it to get back and forth between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. So guys, this view can't be beat. The back of the Lincoln Memorial at sunset, it's one of my favorite places to be. Favorite times of day to be here in Washington, D.C. You can't beat this view. Back here is Arlington, Virginia. That's the city that you can see over here. And then you've got the Potomac River in between, and you got a lot of traffic. Sometimes you can see, depending on when you're here, you actually see the aircraft coming in to land or depart from Washington Reagan Airport. This is final approach for that. It's really cool. But thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like the video, I encourage you to please give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, I invite you to please subscribe to the channel. If you already are subscribed, turn on those notifications so you don't miss the next adventure. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'll see you on the next adventure.